Hey y'all, it's Ashley. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. I'm bringing you my July wrap-up. Seems like that's all I do now is bring wrap-ups, but hey, when you got some stuff going on, you gotta take care of it. I do expect to be doing more than just wrap-ups. My health isn't the greatest, so be expecting more. Just give me time. So if you aren't already, definitely consider subscribing and give me a like if you like this content. I would really appreciate it. I definitely love feedback. I love hearing from you guys. So yeah. The first book that I read for the month of March was Rolling in the Deep by Mira. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. This is essentially about a TV network that hires a bunch of different scientists. So this TV network, they send out a bunch of people, basically this huge team on this very fancy boat. Rex! So they send a bunch of these people out on a very big boat, and they are out there trying to find mermaids. This network is known for things such as like trying to find Bigfoot and really exploiting the fictional side of things, if you consider that fictional. So I actually read this book second. This is the first book in the series, but I read the second book that was in the series last year. But to be honest, I couldn't tell the difference because the amount of information that Mira gives you in the second book, it reads like it's a standalone or the first in the series. So I don't think you have to read them in order. Like I said earlier, I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. Then I participated in the India Chords readathon that was created and hosted by Lana from Lauren Lullabies. I will have her info linked down below, but I actually read this book because of the team I was on. Leslie from The Nerdy Narrative, she was the team leader for the mystery horror fiction kind of team. So the book that she recommended us to read as a team book is The Patience of a Dead Man by Michael Clark. I flipped my shit. I don't know, like, what else do you want me to say? Like, I freaking love this book. The readathon was focused more towards self-published indie authors as well as boutique publishers. It was great. So I'm going to read you the synopsis because if I don't, I'm not going to do it any justice. He just spent everything on a house in disrepair, but he didn't know someone was waiting inside. Tim Russell just put his last dollar on a handyman's dream, a quaint but dilapidated farmhouse in New Hampshire. Newly single after a messy divorce, his plan is to live in the house as he restores it for resale. To his horror, as soon as the papers are signed and his work starts, ghosts begin to appear. A bone-white little boy, a woman covered in flies. Tim can't afford to leave the house and lose it all, so he turns to his real estate agent, Holly Burns, to help him decide whether he has any shot at solving this haunted house. I absolutely adored this book. I plan on doing a list of books that scared me type of thing for before. It's not a ghost, it's just my daughter. But I'm going to be doing a list of books that scared me right before Halloween, so here in the next month. Just be prepared, that's all I have to say. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars, obviously, but the next book that I read for the India Chord readathon was The Match by Sarah Adams. This book is about a woman who is a dog trainer for training service dogs, which is something that kind of hits home with me. I actually am a service dog handler. I have a service dog for my disability, so it was just really neat to kind of take a look at this. But this is a romance. So the main character's name is Evie. She meets a single dad who's been recently divorced. You know, she has seizures, and so it really typically scares other people off, so she doesn't date around very much. The dad, Jacob, has a daughter who also has seizures. It was okay. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, and to be honest, it was probably more like a 2.5 out of 5 because it just didn't really do it for me. I had moments where I was just really dragging along in the book, and I don't think this is a YA because of the ages that these people are. And it's just a contemporary romance, but it's very soft on the romance. I mean, it's something that there's not a whole lot of steam. For example, they hold hands, they kiss, that's about it. So I don't think that really affected my rating, but at the same time I kind of expected something a little bit more from this romance. To expand a little bit more on this thought process, I was going into this book thinking that it was going to portray people who have disabilities with active sex life, which that isn't done very often. I in no way think that is bad. It's just what I was expecting. The next book I read was actually a buddy read with Brandy and Stacy and Yolene. If you haven't heard me talk about them before, then where have you been? I met them through Steve from Steve Talks About Books and Stuff. He has his own forum that he runs, creepingdeath.org. This is an amazing place to meet people and to meet authors. We do live streams together. We take turns hosting live streams. These wonderful ladies and I host a 24-hour readathon at some point during each month. For last month, we did Phoenix Unbound by Grace Draven. This is the author that wrote the Wraith King series. It is a fantasy romance. This had the spice that I needed. It was a slow burn, and I honestly believe that her other book was a slow burn as well that I read. But let me get into this real quick. Every year, each town is required to send a young woman to the empire's capital, her fate to be burned alive for the entertainment of the masses. For the last 5 years, one small village's tithe has been the same woman. Jalene's sacrifice protects all the other young women of her village, and her secret to staying alive lies with the magic only she possesses. But this year is different. Azarion, the Empire's most famous gladiator, has somehow seen through her illusion and is set on blackmailing Jalene into using her abilities to help him escape his life of slavery. Unknown to Jalene, he also wants to reclaim his birthright as leader of his clan. To protect her family and village, she will abandon everything to return to the vampire and burn once more. So this was really interesting because it's definitely got that fantasy, that magical kind of part of it, and but it also it's a whole other world, and the book is only like 400 pages. The only problem that I had with this is that Jalene's powers aren't used very often. It seemed like for a good portion of the book, her powers are recovering. She can't use them. She's left vulnerable. So I can see kind of why Grace Draven wrote her like that, because it makes her more vulnerable and more dependent on Azarion while they're doing the things, doing the shenanigans on an adventure, whatever. I liked it. I enjoyed my time. Then the next book that I read was actually another buddy read, and this was with Steve and Brandy and Stacy and Yolene. Like I said, check out the creepingdeath.org forum. We have calendars there where it shows all the different things that you can do. It's just a really good community. But this is Oathbreaker by A.J Rettger. This is a grimdark fantasy. It is only about 300 pages. Yes, so it's only about 300 pages, and you follow Mario, who is fresh out of night school, and you are following along his journey to complete his first deed. And once he completes his first deed, he will then be considered an actual knight. I actually didn't give this one a rating because it just felt incomplete to me. I really felt like there's pieces in there that were missing. Overall, though, this is a debut novel, and I have to say it's a pretty good debut novel. I just wanted more out of it, so I didn't give it a rating. I am planning on going back and rereading it just so I can take more time with it and take notes, because for such a small book, it is very much action-packed, fast-paced, and there's just a lot of information going on. So then I read The Strange Library by Haruki Murakami. This is just weird. This was just a weird freaking book. From internationally acclaimed author Haruki Murakami, a fantastical illustrated short novel about a boy imprisoned in a nightmarish library. Opening a flaps on this unique little book, readers will find themselves immersed in the strange world of best-selling Haruki Murakami's wild imagination. Essentially, you would open this book, because I got my copy from the library, but you would open the book and it would have like little flaps and it would create like this kind of artistic thing. It was a really cool book. Like, it was so different. I really like interactive books, so I didn't have any issue with it. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. You have this boy who he is going to the library because, you know, he's a very brilliant kid, and he is the type that he's always researching different things. He returns his loan from the library and he asks if there's anything that he can read based off of the Roman Empire and the taxes collected. I believe, I could be wrong. What happens is he goes in there and he ends up being trapped in this weird library. It's like a labyrinth. From the outside it looks like your normal typical library, but once you go inside, there's just these weird characters. There's this old man who I'm pretty sure he eats people. I don't know, but definitely check it out. Once again, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars because it was really weird. Then I couldn't stop with Michael Clark. I had to know what was going on. He has another book in the series. It is called Dead Woman Scorned. It just answered so many things for me. I'm not going to go into the synopsis just because it does have a little bit of the spoilers, but it follows the main entity, main villain in the first book, and continues and kind of gives you like a backstory of her life. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Are we shocked? No, nobody's shocked here. I don't know about you. I'm not shocked. After that, I read this graphic novel. It was called The Undertaking of Lily Chen. This is by Danica Novgorodoff. I gave this graphic novel a 3 out of 5 stars. It says, in the mountains of northern China, ancient custom demands that every man have a wife to keep him company in the afterlife. Deshi Li's brother is dead and unmarried, which means that Deshi must find him an eligible body before the week is up. Lily Shen, sweet as a snakebite, needs money and a fast ride out of town. Haunted by the gods of their ancestors and the expectations of the new world, Deshi and Lily embark on a journey with 2 very different destinations in mind. They travel through a land where the ground is hard and the graves are shallow, where marriage can be murder, and where Lily Shen is wanted, dead or alive. One of those pretty disturbing books. After that, I was getting a little burnt out on the scary stuff, so I read Never a Mistress, No Longer a Maid by Maureen Driscoll. I've had this book on my TBR for the longest time. So the way that I like to describe this book is that it's Pride and Prejudice, but with steam. And when I say steam, I mean it's got some bits in it that would make your grandma blush. Caught behind enemy lines at the Battle of Waterloo, Nurse Jane Weatherby is forced to seek shelter with British operative Lord Edward Kellington. After a night of passion, the two are separated with nothing but the alias Jane used to protect her family. Lord Edward is unable to find the woman he cannot forget. 7 years later, Jane courts scandal by serving as the unofficial surgeon in the village of Marston Vale. When Edward arrives to formalize his betrothal to a viscount's daughter, in accordance with his late father's wishes, Jane has no choice but to watch the match proceed. When a threat from the past emerges, Jane must join forces with Edward to safeguard her loved ones, but at what risk to her heart? I had a really great time with this book. It definitely was a good palate cleanser between those really creepy and scary stories that I was reading. Unfortunately, the next book that I read was Experienced by Jenika Snow. I did not enjoy this book. I give it a 1 out of 5 stars. Got the female character who just turned 18, and then you have this man who I believe he's in his 40s or 50s. That didn't bother me, but what really bothered me was the sexual grooming. It made me really uncomfortable. Hugo, our other character, he's very manipulative. I just didn't like it. It wasn't romantic to me. It would have been different if he would have set boundaries with her and would have talked to her about what she wanted out of the relationship. But in the entire book, it's basically him bossing her around and telling her how to do stuff, and him being overprotective. I'm not going to give up on this author because I've heard a lot of Jenika Snow's other books are pretty good, so I will be trying some different ones, but this one just pissed me off. Like, I don't recommend it. No sir. Then I read Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. So this is your take on the Ku Klux Klan, who are monsters in this world, and then you have our female characters, this group of women who are hunters. They are African American, and they go and they hunt these monsters that are called Ku Klux Klans, or Ku Kluxes. And so there's a difference between the Ku Kluxes and the Ku Klux Klans. The Klans are the monsters, and then the other ones are just kind of like human slaves. This was such a cool book to read. It's short, and I'm really excited. I can't wait to hear more about other books that he's going to be writing. So 5 out of 5 stars. In America, demons wear white hoods. In 1915, the birth of a nation casts a spell across America, swallowing the Klan's ranks and drinking deep from the darkest thoughts of white folk. All across the nation they ride, spreading fear and violence among the vulnerable. They plan to bring hell to earth, but even Ku Kluxes die. Standing in their way are Maurice Boudoir and her fellow resistant fighters, a foul-mouthed sharpshooter and a Harlem hellfighter. Armed with blade, bullet, and bomb, they hunt their hunters and send the Klan's demons straight to hell. But something awful's brewing in Macon, and the war on hell is about to heat up. Can Maurice stop the Klan before it ends the world? Yeah, I can't, there's nothing else I can say to improve on that. That was amazing. Then I read another graphic novel, The Creep by Frank Krause. This is basically a bunch of ideas that have been animated and drawn out. For example, there is one where, she fears about reading out loud because she's afraid if she reads out loud then ghosts will come and sit by her. And then there's other things like Fear 67 is, I once had a dream that ate my own hand. The skin and muscles were chewy like gummy bears. The bones were brittle and crunchy like cookies. Since then, I can't help seeing my hand differently. Another disturbing, weird book. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I have no idea why I've been going after books like this, but I enjoyed myself, so that's all that matters. I do believe I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars, so it's pretty good. That is all the books that I read for the month of July. Take a deep breath. That was a lot of books, for me at least. Will I be able to continue that streak? Probably not, but it doesn't matter. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like and consider subscribing if you want to hang out and witness to my shenanigans, because there's no telling what I'm going to come up with. Anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. See you later. Bye.